Start our scheduled public hearings at 6 p.m. Mr. County Administrator, would you please introduce the first public hearing item?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this item requests the board to conduct the first and only public hearing and seeks conditional board approval of the Leon County Fulfillment Center Type C Site and Development Plan application. The project site is located within the High Intensity Urban Activity Center zoning district at Mahan Drive and I-10. Which allows for the proposed fulfillment center as a permissible use and requires the review and approval of the board at a public hearing. Commissioners, this project includes only one recommendation for a deviation to the county's land development code related to the county's sign code. With that, Commissioners, I'd like to ask Barry Wilcox, our Director of Development Support and Environmental Management, to make a presentation and to be available to answer any questions you might have. I'll just note, Commissioners, we have about 10 speaker cards.
Thank you very much, Mr. County Administrator. Mr. Wilcox, thank you for being here.
Yeah, good evening, Commissioners. Before you tonight is a Type C site and development plan. You don't get too many of these. There are thresholds for them in each one of the zoning districts. This one, because it's in the activity center zoning district and over 500,000 square feet, comes to you for final approval. So. Here are some of the basic parameters. First I really have to start off with saying thank you to my staff for all that they've done on this. We were asked to pull this through in a pretty quick timeline. They have done an incredible job. Shauna in particular, I think I need to recognize for this and all that she's done for it. And the team, actually the consulting team that's worked for the applicant has done an incredible job of getting us exactly what we need when we need it on this. Sorry, I'm a little out of breath. I came running from eating dinner. The proposed fulfillment center, and these are some of the basic details on it. It's about 634,000 square feet in footprint size, but it is 2.8 million in gross floor area. It is a 5-story building. Okay, so that's where you see, and there's been some discrepancy, I know, in some of the documents you've received from the public as to what is the actual square footage on this. The square footage, of course, is the base is 634,000 square feet, but if you multiply that times 5 floors, you come up with the 2.8, which is well within the threshold of 4 million for that zoning district. It is a 111-acre site, and let me move on to the next one. Okay. Sorry. All right, just real quickly, there's also, wanted to kind of bring up this aerial map just to show you the region in question here. As you'll note, we've got I-10 and the Mahan Drive corridor as the intersection for this project. You'll note that it is designated activity center, which is one of our highest zoning districts. The right next door at the site of the old car museum is interchange commercial, as well as catty corner from that, which is the Summit East office park, which is also interchange commercial. To the north, you'll see CPA, which is actually the Walani area, and that is the Heel, which is, off the top of my head, I'm trying to think, I believe it's 1.1 million square feet of non-residential that's permitted for the Heel in that location. So I bring all this up just to highlight the fact that this is, while it's been portrayed as a residential area, it isn't necessarily a residential area completely. Obviously, at a major interchange like this, you see a great deal of non-residential uses. As a matter of fact, we might typify this with more non-residential uses than residential uses easily. Now, as for the permitted use, and there's been some question about the permitted use as to whether or not this was allowed in the AC district. I'm going to read something to you real quickly here. The AC zoning district is one of our older districts. It relied upon what was called the standard industrial classification for permitted uses. That was replaced in the 90s by what is called the North American Industrial Classification System. North American Industrial Classification System and the AC zoning district allow catalog, order taking, and mail order houses are listed as an allowable use. Now, the equivalent NAICS category is electronic shopping and mail order houses, and for illustrative purposes in that category, they do list things like shopping television orders, internet auction sites, mail order book clubs, mail order houses, and web retailers. As a matter of fact, the top businesses by annual sale for that category as listed by the NICS website, are Amazon, Wayfair, eBay, and QVC. So we had to do a little bit of interpretation here given the age of the AC zoning district, but we found that this is the fulfillment center as portrayed as a permittable use in that zoning district. Just a quick timeline here to get you through. Permitted use verification was done on December 21st of 2020. We had a pre-submittal meeting. This is optional, but they did take us up on it, held on March 24th, 2021. Our natural features inventory, which for those of you that aren't familiar with that, is a look at all the natural features on the site, including floodplain, wetlands, any listed species or anything of that sort, was completed on April 21st. The environmental management permit is currently still under review and we won't be able to finalize this site plan until such time as that EMP is approved by staff. So that will be a condition of approval, as you'll see in a moment. Public meetings, we had an application review or an ARM meeting on May 26th, a DRC meeting just recently on June 16th, and of course here we are tonight for the BCC meeting on July 13th. So as I said, this was a very, very quick time schedule. We challenged the applicant when they told us they would like to get through in this amount of time. We said, we're perfectly capable of doing it if you're perfectly capable of giving us the information that we need to ensure that it meets all the criteria as outlined in the Land Development Code. So one of the big questions, and this has come up time and time again, and it comes up with so many of our projects, I feel a lot of people don't fully understand all that goes into the review of any project. Almost any project in the county gets reviewed for transportation concurrency. It gets reviewed for all the natural and environmental aspects of the site. If it's residential, we look at school concurrency. We'll look at noise, lighting, and all sorts of other aspects in almost every review that we do. So I only say that for the public to understand that there's a great deal that goes into this. There's very little that's, if anything, that's ignored as part of the review process. This is basically ingress and egress for the site. And what you see is the site plan overlaid in blue with the building in gray over the 111 acres that makes up the site. What you'll note is hopefully, I can move my cursor around here. Yeah, so I'm going to kind of use the cursor here to show you. This is the proposed Vineland Drive extension, okay, which connects up at Vineland Drive where it stubs out currently on Mahan Drive where you got the full signalized intersection. This is now down here is your car museum entrance, and this is that entrance kind of in between the two right now that's not currently being used. You see a gate there. This is being proposed as the primary ingress and egress for truck traffic to this site. We are looking at approximately, the traffic impact analysis I think looked at 600 to 650 trucks per day coming in and out of the site. They would all be utilizing this access point off of Mahan Drive. They would be coming into the gatehouse here at the northern portion of the site. This is basically the trailer parking area where they would drop off trailers, pick up other trailers, and then they would leave the site the same way. Except for one portion of the year, which is the fourth quarter or peak season as they call it, at which point, if they need to, they will open a second guardhouse. Can't get my cursor going here. Up here at the northwest portion of the site. We have worked with the applicant as well as Public Works to ensure that at this intersection, trucks, it's signed and it's also designed in a way that trucks need to make a left turn out of here, come back down the Vineland extension out to the signalized intersection in order to leave the site. So what I'm trying to get across here is you will not see truck traffic going onto Thornton Road. If a truck gets out on the Thornton Road, it's by accident, it's not by design. And as someone who's driven a large vehicle in the past, I can't imagine what it would be like trying to get a truck, basically back around towards Capitol Circle and then out to I-10, which is where all the truck traffic is intended to head to from the site. As far as the employees go, we are looking at anywhere between 800 and 1,000 employees depending on the time of the season. This is the employee parking lot here. Employees will be coming and going primarily from Vineland Drive. Some of them will be able to exit and enter from Thornton Road. but roughly the split on that is about 85 and 15. So 85% of the traffic going out to Mahan Drive, about 15% of traffic going out towards Thornton Road. And with that in mind, I just want to kind of give you a brief overview of the existing traffic conditions. Thornton Road is a major collector. Its current capacity per the FDOT level of service manual is 13,320 average annual daily trips. That's what the AADT is. The current count on that road from 2020 is 1,700 trips. So you can see there's significant capacity still existing. A major collector is a roadway that's intended to collect traffic from one arterial or from an arterial and lead it to other local roads, which is, if you know Thornton Road, is pretty much exactly how it functions. I-10 is a limited access principal arterial. Its capacity going west from Mahan is approximately 62,700 average annual daily trips. And its current capacity, our current trips, the last count was about 35,000. So a little more than half of, or a little less than half the capacity still exists in that section of the road. Mahan Drive is a principal arterial. For this section west of I-10, capacity is close to 40,000 average daily trips, and the current capacity is about half of that. So one of the reasons I think this site was selected by the applicant is because there is so much capacity in the surrounding roadway system. Therefore, there's limited opportunities to trip basically the levels of service on those roads and result in concurrency mitigation. I wanted to give a quick example of the difference between the lifestyle center that many heard proposed here. This was probably over a decade ago now when the AC zoning first came into place. So we've heard from a few folks, you know, we were told that while the AC zoning allows a very, very broad array of uses, and it's one of our most intense zoning districts, the lifestyle center, or it's a code for outdoor mall essentially, was what was originally proposed on the site. So using that as a go-by, and at about 1.2 million square feet, which would be the average for something like a St. John's Town Center or that, we came up with 35,300 daily trips, and this is staff who's done these calculations. PM peak hour, about 2,200 trips. The fulfillment center itself at 2.8 million square feet is predicted to create 4,300 daily trips and about 1,000 PM peak hour trips. So significantly less than what the fulfillment center would have brought you. Now, some might say, well, this doesn't seem logical, but you have to realize that the fulfillment center does not, you have employees arriving at the fulfillment center, you have trucks arriving at the fulfillment center, but you don't have shoppers going to the fulfillment center like you would have in a mall situation. And that's what accounts for those significant difference in trips there. Okay. Really quickly now, there were some impacts. There's a single road in the county system that was tripped when the traffic impact analysis was completed. And by tripped, I mean that we have an adopted level of service for that road, and the trips added to this road by the project would have dropped its level of service. In that case, it was just 10 trips that actually it was dropped by 10 trips, which isn't very much. There were 11 sections in the city, mostly to the west of this, down towards Capitol Circle and Mahan Drive area, that were tripped. The total proportionate share as calculated via the traffic impact analysis was $2 million. The applicant is proposing building a public roadway, which would be the Vineland Road extension. The estimated cost on that is $6.8 million, and therefore there would be a net benefit to the public of $4.8 million, because that is the difference between what is owed via the traffic impact analysis and what is being constructed via the public right-of-way. A few other operational improvements that came up as part of traffic impact analysis include a deceleration lane entering the site, at Voyage Drive, which would be that new drive in between the Vineland extension and the current car museum entrance. And the extension of a left turn lane at Vineland Drive, which exists today, but it's not quite long enough to accommodate what they anticipate to be the traffic entering the site at that location. There will also be some other operational changes in terms of the signalization, the timing of the signals at that location. That'll be worked through with DOT, but it's very common for them to take that into consideration, obviously, when they get a large new traffic producer like the fulfillment center would be. On to conservation easements, natural areas, buffers, and stormwater. About 40% of the site is going to be preserved in natural area of some sort, whether that be a buffer, a conservation easement, or natural area set aside as required by code. There is a 30-foot type C buffer that you can see rings the site, most of the site, but most importantly, the portions of the site that are adjacent to any residential uses. They've also proposed the use of bioswales as we don't require, but we encourage heavily in our land development code throughout the parking lot. Some of those you can see up in Falls Chase and some of the new construction that's occurred there. That helps pre-treat the stormwater before it actually heads to the ponds. In terms of the ponds, they are proposing 2 stormwater facilities. Both of them are wet detention facilities, and which as a wet detention facility actually provides a higher level of treatment than a dry detention facility would in this case. I have to stress that they went above and beyond in the modeling of the storm event for this area and for this site, knowing that there are known flooding issues both to the north and the south of the site. By putting the floodplain on the site in conservation easement, they'll also be required to have a management plan for the conservation easement, which will include some restoration of that wetland, which will actually improve the functionality of the wetland and the floodplain moving forward, which could help with some of those flooding issues both up and downstream. But most importantly, the site does not exacerbate and cannot exacerbate per our code any known flooding issues in either direction. Lighting was one of the things that was brought up as a concern by the public. We don't typically require a lighting study to be conducted, but we asked them if they would, and they agreed to do so. And by they, I mean the applicant. Proposed lighting, the maximum light pole out here would be 30 feet. I know there were some concerns that, given that it's a 5-story building, we might have 100-foot tall lights or things of that sort that you might see out at the interstate. That's not the case here. The lights in question will be dark sky friendly, meaning that they will be domed and pointing downwards, not upwards. And light levels at the property line adjacent to the closest residence are 0-foot candles. Where we do require a lighting study, one of the more stringent areas we're required in is Bradfordville. And to give you a kind of a go-by there, the Bradfordville standard is 0.5-foot candles at the property line. Here we're surpassing that at 0.0, which means no foot candles at the property line adjacent to any of the residential areas. The closest residence to the site, to the actual building, is about 1,000 feet from the building and about 450 feet from the last piece of developed area, which is primarily this, sorry, let me get my cursor moving here again, is this truck parking area here. There's a residence up here. It's about 450 feet from the residence down to this area, and it's about 1,000 feet from the residence down to the site, or down to the building. Sorry. Another area of concern that was brought up early on was noise. So one of the unique things about this site is that almost everything that goes on at the site is going to go on within the walls of the building. The only thing that would create noise coming and going from the site would be the traffic. And substantially the 600 or so truck trips that come and go on a daily basis, and the 3,000 or so automobile trips that may come and go from the site on a daily basis. But the noise study that was, again, this was done by the consultant, and I know there's been some dispersion as to the fact that the consultant hired somebody to do this for them. But they used a professionally accepted methodology and standards to conduct this. They used sound plan software, which has been in use for decades all across the globe for doing exactly this sort of thing. Staff did review the sound study, and we felt comfortable that the parameters, that the inputs in the sound study were all acceptable, and that the outcomes were logical, let's say. So to just give you a comparison, you can kind of see the rings, concentric rings going outwards here. the darkest green being less than 45 decibels, the brightest red being above 65 decibels. DOT mitigation for roadways occurs somewhere around 67 dB. A conversation, probably the one we're having right now, occurs somewhere right around 65, dishwashers around 50 to 55. So these are just to give you an idea of where these sound levels would be. What the sound study found is that the background noise being generated by I-10, which is right there at the periphery of the site, and Mahan Drive, was actually higher than anything that would be generated on the site, and so it would mask the noise that was coming from the site. That's a logical conclusion, even if you're not going through the sound plan study, because we know traffic coming down I-10, particularly truck traffic, is traveling at somewhere between 60 and 80 miles an hour, most likely. And there's significant noise from a truck traveling at that speed. Trucks coming in and out of the site are going to be traveling at a much, much lower speed, closer to 30 miles per hour. Hopefully the cars will be operating in a similar range, and therefore the sound being generated by those will be lower. Still, you'll see we're not saying, or the study is not saying, that there will be no sound. Obviously, there's sound around the edges of the building here, but as you travel outwards, and particularly as you get to that first residence that we just mentioned, you're already down to the 45 to 50 decibel level, which is acceptable and well below the DOT threshold for any sort of mitigation. There is one deviation that you'll be asked to approve here tonight, and that is a deviation to the sign code. The sign code for the site, for AC in general, is kind of a catch-all sign code. I don't think it could have anticipated a building of this size, and therefore it limits the building to one wall sign and one ground sign per premise, with a combined maximum of 600 square feet. So you can imagine with a building of this size and a site of this size, a single wall sign and a single ground sign really doesn't get you there. What they're requesting in their deviation are 3 wall signs of a combined maximum of 750 square feet, 2 on the south elevation front of the building and 1 on the north elevation of the building adjacent to I-10, none on the west elevation of the building, which would be the side that's facing the closest residence. There are some conditions of approval, and this is common with these sort of things. These are things that we button up prior to or following whatever your vote is here today. The concurrency agreement, which will go into place, which will lock in that construction of that Vineland Road extension and give them a credit for that towards their proportionate share mitigation. A boundary settlement, which will really just be a way of reconfiguring the parcels on the site, to allow for this 111-acre site to be created amongst the parcels that are out there today. The environmental management permit, which we discussed earlier, the filing of the conservation easement for the site, the completion of the Vineland Drive extension, which will be required prior to granting a certificate of occupancy for the building. Utilities, there's a conceptual utility service plan. Just real quickly on utilities, we've been working very closely with the city on this, and the city has assured us that they have adequate capacity to serve this via sewer, water, as well as electricity. Addressing street naming applications, we're in the process of naming some of those new roads that are being created, in particular the one kind of in between what will be the Vineland Drive extension and the entrance to the car museum. And other outstanding technical efficiencies, those are just dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and things like that in the application. That's it. I would just summarize by saying, while this seems like it is a big building, and I think as some people have pointed out, it's probably the biggest we've ever built here. But when it comes to an application, it's a fairly simple process. It's a single building, a single use on a single site. Much more complicated process come before us on a regular basis that involve multiple phases, multiple uses, multiple owners many times, and those can lead to many more questions and concerns than you would find in an application of this size. So this is really just a single site plan, a single building plan, just at a very, very large scale. And I'd be happy to take any questions you might have on it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilcox. Mr. County Administrator.
Thank you, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman. Just very quickly, I knew that Barry would cover a lot, so I just wanted to provide a summary. And Barry, you said it right there at the end. Really, a couple of the points that I wanted to make just in closing. First of all, I just want to add my kudos to DSEM staff on this and to the consultants. First-rate professional job. We appreciate it. And also to the landowner. I think this is important that I say this. I mean, the landowner who was adamant throughout this process about doing everything we could to protect his neighbors in this process. So again, I felt like it's important to say that. Barry, you said it, big project, but not particularly complicated. You mentioned the allowable use and no rezonings required here. Single ownership on 100 acres at the intersection of the interstate and a state highway. 40% natural features and conservation easements. No issues with our environmental study, with the applicant agreeing to exceed their traffic concurrency requirements as well as mitigate any off-site impacts. And commissioners, that's of course not to mention the economic opportunities associated with this project, which will be a minimum of 1,000 jobs and a $200 million investment. So with that, Barry, thank you. I just wanted to make those few points, and I'll hand it back to you, Mr. Chairman. And of course, we do have speakers.
Great. Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. Before we move on to the public speakers, I want to go ahead and recognize our county attorney. This is a quasi-judicial agenda item, and I think there's some disclosures here. Is that correct? Thank you, Madam County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since this is a quasi-judicial proceeding, all ex parte communications related to this agenda item number 37 have been disclosed in attachments 5 and 6 to the agenda item or must be disclosed at this public hearing so that the communications may be made part of the record. There have been 3 additional ex parte communications to my knowledge, the first being a communication between Commissioner Welch and Grant Gelhart and Meta Calder on July 12th, during which the constituents requested consideration of enforcing green building standards, including solar panels, EV charges, etc. The second communication occurred when Kim Ross, on behalf of the Tallahassee 100% Together Coalition, communicated with Commissioner Maddox on July 12th to strongly urge the Commission to require that the project meet sustainability requirements in building and transportation based on concerns regarding greenhouse gas emissions and pollution. And the final communication occurred when Commissioner Maddox also received a communication from Terry Sheridan on July 12th, expressing concern about traffic and noise in the neighborhood most impacted by the project.
Great. Thank you, Madam County Attorney. Okay, Mr. County Administrator, would you please introduce the first speaker?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, the first speaker is a Zoom speaker, Craig Brown.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Would you please state your name and address for the record? And you have 3 minutes.
Yes, hello, this is Craig Brown. I live at 1949 Vineland. I have provided a lot of information, but just to speak to some of the things that have already been said, I want to assure Mr. Wilcox that I worked for many years for DOT, and I do understand traffic concerns, right-of-way, noise, and what happens with diesel trucks. So let's not worry too much about that. There's a few things about this. One thing is this whole project has been pushed through very quickly. It's been sloppily done. There's been a lot of mistakes in the information that's been portrayed, put out, and actually documented. But one of the things that is most egregious is no other sites were considered for this project. And it was done in such secrecy, no other sites were considered. I have provided to the Commission and to anybody on the staff that will listen 2 companies that both have multiple locations that are more suitable, properly zoned, already in industrial areas, and could be provided with infrastructure already in place to support a project of this size. There's been absolutely zero interest in pursuing that. And there's been a lot talked about the AC zoning, the history of this area. When the people that live here in this non-residential area in their residences bought out here, that whole area was zoned agricultural. When it was zoned commercial, we went through this same process and the residents were shut down. It's being rezoned commercial. We went through the same process when it was rezoned AC. And what we were told at that time was, don't worry about it. The worst thing that can happen is you'll get a shopping mall. Even when this land was rezoned in 2012, the landowner, in his own words, specifically stated the site located at the intersection of 10 and State Highway 90 for use as a regional shopping center and activity center. AC zoning is not appropriate for an industrial warehouse. It is not. M1 is the zoning for warehouses, period. Mr. Wilcox has already admitted that he had to do some interpretation. I would call it stretching. It's way beyond interpretation. It is not appropriate. It is surrounded by residential areas. The total square footage has been purposely misled throughout this project. It started out as 634,000 square feet. And then when pressed with direct questioning during the DRC meeting, staff admitted that it would be 2.4 million. And now the latest size we're getting is off of the agenda item for this meeting today that it's 2.8 million. This should set off some red flags. The other thing that's being pointed to are these noise memos in this noise study. Noise memos were written by people that are being paid by the applicant.
Mr. Brown, thank you very much.
No, I'm not done.
Well, Mr. Brown, you've reached the 3-minute maximum, sir. Thank you very much for your time. Mr. County Administrator, would you please introduce the next speaker?
The next speaker is Stephen Bowl. And sorry, sir, if I did not pronounce your name correctly.
Mr. Bowl, thank you very much for coming. Would you please state your name and address for the record? You have 3 minutes.
Stephen Bowl, I live at 3979 Thornton Lane. I've been living there about 19 years. We haven't had any issues, until this thing started moving through process. I appreciate everything the staff said about it. But it is concerning. I do, this thing, there are other locations, like somebody's already said. The residents in the area, they're concerned about regarding traffic, environmental impacts, and the influence factors that will affect our property values, at least 10 to 15%. So, anyway, I'd like to address some mitigation efforts. One is a traffic calming area on Thornton Road, because quite frankly, people are doing 50 miles an hour on that road right now. And with more traffic on that road, it's going to just make it worse. If we do traffic calming on Thornton Road, it would reduce that speed limit, particularly, where we live, off of that road. It's going to be impossible to get out. The light and noise, I know that it's been addressed by staff, but I know it was done by the consultant. I know that truck noise is going to be a real issue. I know that they're saying they need to shut down their vehicles, but they never will. They live in them, so they're not going to be shutting down their vehicles. You have an issue before you that's going to violate, your own sign policy. They're putting a sign. They're putting the signs at the top of the building. They're going to be lit, so nobody talked about the lighting issue as well for these internal signs at the top of the building. There's one at the northwest side of the building, which is going to be facing Thornton Road. Particularly some residents in there, so I would suggest getting rid of that one. I really don't think you should, you have a sign policy, we need to stick with it. And in conclusion, I hope that, one more thing I'd like to say is, I I know that they're going to put buffers in that area, but really what we really need is something that will stop it and have like a concrete structure like they do on Blairstone Road. That would have an issue of, stopping the noise coming from our area. So in conclusion, I hope the county commissioners consider these major issues. I know you're proposing me.
Mr. Bolt, thank you very much.
Well, I just want to say I'm president of the Thornton Hill subdivision. I'm a real estate, I have a real estate license, and I was quoting some issues from the appraisal stuff. So,
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for coming. Mr. County Administrator, would you please introduce the next speaker?
Next speaker, Dawn Adams.
Ms. Adams, thank you very much for coming. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Dawn Adams, 1300 Sharon Road, Tallahassee, Florida. I am a concerned citizen of Tallahassee. I'm born native of Central Florida, and my passions are clean water, clean air, and land conservation throughout Florida. I've come to love Tallahassee, living here for the last 6 years. Some of my concerns about this facility are the amount of waste products that will come from a fulfillment center. Many of you saw the pictures of Casper mattresses outside of an airport. Where does all of that go, you guys? So all of that goes in landfills. I'm not sure if there's been any kind of project management for new landfills in place, and how that methane gas that's released from landfills will affect Tallahassee area. Also, the methane that's released from landfills and the waste products can trickle down into the Osceola River, to Wassissa, and to the Wakulla Basin. So that's definitely something to be concerned about as county commissioners. So the cost can be much higher than the reward of having this fulfillment center. So I definitely want to make sure that everybody's taking part in that. I'm a little bit nervous because I'm actually a little upset about it. Something I do want to implore as a marketing major, I will say it is exciting to have a new facility possibly projected, but to raise job growth and economy here. But at the price of our environment for our children and grandchildren, it's very important. So I want to implore you as county commissioners to take an extra look at that EMP. Make sure it actually meets the standards that the citizens are requiring for Tallahassee. As a capital, we are setting the example for the rest of the state. So I truly believe that we hold that, authority over others to give that example. And then to share a little positive note about an experience I had earlier this year. I went to an event at the American Car Museum in Melbourne, Florida. I don't know if anybody's been there, but a man built a muscle car museum with lots of muscle cars that are never run. From the 1950s to 70s, some of these cars are in the millions, and he never even runs them. It's just for his collection and for education throughout Florida. And he has powered this entire warehouse, 123,000 square feet, with all solar panel energy, all renewable energy. And he is also able to sell back some to the electrical grid. So it's helping the community in the area as well, and taking part in their county's sustainability measures. So I hope that we're setting that example as well with what we're requiring of this development. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much, Ms. Adams. Mr. County Administrator, next speaker, please.
Next speaker, Kara Fleischer.
Ms. Fleischer, thank you very much for coming again. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Kara Fleischer, 4706 Inisheer Court, and I wanted to thank you for this opportunity to talk about Project Mango. As part of Tally 100, we work really hard to work with the city to help create a clean energy plan, to be more sustainable, to eventually, the main goal is to reduce our emissions that are causing climate change. And this project has really popped on the radar very quickly, and so I felt that I needed to speak about it. At my project for Leon Soil and as a Leon Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor is called Mulch It, Don't Burn It, because we already have a lot of smoke in our air already. We are one of the largest prescribed burning areas in the country. We have a lot of backyard burning, and so we have seen that with the purple air monitors that are all over the city, we're able to actually see what our PM 2.5 is, and on any given day in the spring or the fall, we are in the yellow and red areas already, which are dangerous for all folks. So I'm here to urge you to take the air quality impacts of this project into this process and do everything you can to safeguard our air quality, to protect our families from the dangerous pollution that is causing asthma rates in our city. Earth Justice reported that a similar fulfillment center's constant diesel-fueled truck traffic and idling caused some of the worst ozone and particulate and soot levels in the U.S. And that community where that fulfillment center is suffers from asthma rates twice the national average. I'm concerned about the carbon footprint and greenhouse gas emissions that will be produced by this project at a time when science has strongly warned us that time is running out if we don't reduce our emissions, or we're going to suffer from runaway climate change with disastrous results, especially here in Florida. Luckily, we can have both. We can make this a green project and a more sustainable project so we can protect the future of our kids and our city. We can make smart decisions like LED buildings, solar and electric power, and our leaders, which is you can demand that this project do better and be more sustainable. I really want to thank you for all the work that you do already in this area. I'm very proud of Tallahassee and Leon County, and we win awards for being sustainable, and so I just hope that this project can be under that same idea so we can look back on this decision in 5 years, 15 years, and 30 years and be proud of what we decided. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fleischer. Mr. County Administrator, next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Sue Dick, to be followed by Meta Calder.
Ms. Dick, thank you for coming. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Sue Dick, President of the Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce, 300 East Park Avenue. It's nice to see everybody here this evening. I'm here to speak in support of Project Mango. Have been watching over the past time period the work that has been done to this project, and also want to thank you all for your commitment to reviewing and bringing and keeping top of mind our community scorecard. We've had the opportunity to come before you and talk about our community scorecard and how important that is for our community, whether it's the job creation, our poverty rate, the importance of creating good paying wages for not only our citizens now, but our future citizens. And I think what this project represents is that opportunity, and not to let us forget about that, because it does impact everybody in our community. Staff has done a tremendous job in outlining a lot of questions that have come forward, recognizing, and I want to acknowledge the work of both staff as well as working with the applicant to meet the sustainability and the environmental concerns. I will say to you, in our world as Chambers of Commerce, and I know the good work with Christina Paredes and the Office of Economic Vitality, we're in a competitive state of affairs with regards to creating jobs. There are many communities that we are competing with. I would like to recognize the work that has been to date to bring us to this point where we have the opportunity to continue working with the project as important as this, not just for our immediate community, but our surrounding community. And again, those individuals that we are all focused on to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to have a job, and in this case, at a minimum wage or higher that is being offered by the applicant. So I thank you for your leadership on this and the work of the staff and everyone that's been working on this, and I hope that this would continue to move forward for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dick. Mr. County Administrator, next speaker.
Meta Calder, to be followed by Kim Ross.
Ms. Calder, thank you for coming. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Meta Calder, 3740 Ravine Drive. I'm with the League of Women Voters in Tallahassee, and I'm glad to be here tonight. Okay, so the League of Women Voters in Big Bend Sierra Club recently submitted a statement relating to the proposed Project Mango site and development plan. In it, we tried to make 4 important points. 1, that Leon County and the City of Tallahassee have demonstrated a commitment to sustainability and doing their part to mitigate the consequences of climate change. 2, in keeping with that commitment, we would like the county to consider asking for some additional features to the development plan. One, building the warehouse in accordance with green building standards, and those are available. Two, the addition of rooftop solar to power the fulfillment center. You also saw those pictures. I mean, that is a big roof right in the sun, nice and flat, no shade trees. It's perfect. And a commitment to converting to an all-electric local transportation fleet. Having said that, we are pleased that the developer has agreed to incorporate EV charging stations for both trucks and regular vehicles. We'll be establishing a conservation easement that includes a management plan aimed at improving the natural areas and ensuring the long-term protection of its environmental features, and incorporating low-income development techniques into the employee parking area, which will provide additional landscaping and shading. We also like the lighting accommodations that were discussed today. If the rumor is correct and the developer is revealed to be Amazon, we feel confident that they will be receptive to these requests, as they have shown significant corporate leadership in addressing climate change. For example, more than 90 Amazon fulfillment centers are currently powered by on-site rooftop solar. They have pledged to reach 100% renewable energy use by 2030, and they have made a significant investment in electric delivery vehicles. Finally, if the developer is not Amazon, we believe that any corporate entity listed as a Fortune 500 company can afford and would welcome an opportunity to demonstrate a commitment to environmental sustainability here in Florida's capital. Doing so will not only reflect well on the company and help pave the way towards a positive partnership with our community, but will help expedite the county and city's journey towards a carbon-free future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Calder. Mr. County Administrator, next speaker.
Kim Ross, to be followed by Ann Bidlingmeyer.
Ms. Ross, thank you very much for being here. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Kim Ross, and my address is 1203 Buckingham Drive. And I'm here as chair of the Tallahassee 100% Together Coalition. And I'll just say, because I'm going to cut my talk just a little bit, since someone else I know quoted one of the articles I was going to quote, that Tallahassee 100% Together makes decisions via modified consensus. And that means that all 59 of the organizations that we represent had the opportunity to have input into the statement that I sent to all of you and that I'm about to read part of. We welcome businesses that provide safe jobs paying a living wage, providing that the facility and its operations do not increase the community's greenhouse gas emissions. Therefore, we strongly urge you to require that the Project Mango Fulfillment Center meet building and transportation sustainability requirements. This facility could add massive amounts of greenhouse gas emissions that cause climate change, as well as pollution that would negatively impact the health of our community. Approving a facility that increases greenhouse gas emissions is inconsistent with the county's successful effort to reduce emissions from its own operations since 2007. This is a chance for the county to influence what happens outside of its own emissions. And as a leader in greenhouse gas reductions, the county should jump on it. No decision should be made before the county evaluates this project for the additional greenhouse gas emissions it will produce, as well as the recurring air quality impacts of fine particulate matter, VOCs, and nitrogen oxides on public health, on habitat loss, and on urban sprawl. Leon County has been a leader in environmental practices, and we urge you to consider the detrimental impacts this kind of facility could have. In addition, the environmentally sensitive site encompasses wetlands that drain into the lower Lake Lafayette. So low impact development criteria should be used for the site development as a requirement. Any consideration to approve this development plan must include sustainability goals such as LEED buildings powered by solar PV and solar thermal panels, as well as a commitment to leading in the adoption of non-polluting transportation techniques such as renewably fueled semi-trucks and electric delivery trucks. If these cannot be met, we urge you to deny the plan and work toward modification that addresses these concerns. Further, we want this facility to actually be a leader in improving the community and the health of the people, for instance, by being a part of the Capital Area Sustainability Compact that this commission created. We respectfully ask you to carefully weigh the benefits of this economic development project against the amount of greenhouse gas emissions and pollution it could add to our community, because this decision will impact our county for years to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ross. County Administrator, next speaker, please.
Ann Bidlingmeyer, to be followed by Terry Sheridan.
Ms. Bidlingmeyer, thank you very much for being here. Please.
Thank you.
Name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, Ann Bidlingmeyer, 1920 Harriet Drive, 32303. I was founder of Tree Watch several decades ago and helped write the city and the county's tree ordinances. I was co-founder of Arbor Day in Tallahassee. I was the 3-term chair of the Canopy Road Citizens Committee. I'm on the board of Friends of Miccosukee Greenway, which is out near this project, and I'm president of the Florida Heritage Foundation for Preservation. So you can see that I've been around the block for a while. Master Gardeners has a saying, right place, right plant. And not just plants, but the big plant. This is not the right place for that plant. Take a look very closely at the numbers and the stats that were shown you. I think it's a little bit deceptive. 60% of that space is going to be impervious surface. A 30-foot buffer is not really a buffer. 30 feet is much smaller than you would think. So the promises that are being made by the developer and the landowner, I think, are deceptive. What has happened to our regard for neighborhoods, green space, parks, and recreation? We have seen really irresponsible developments. Falls Chase, to begin with, where they clear-cut thousands of trees, and it's still an eyesore. Then we have Canopy, which is an even worse development, which is not at all like what the original board of Volani, which I was on, envisioned. And then we have Washington Square, which is a big pit. If you want to put a plant in somewhere in town that would be more responsive to its employees. And if it's Amazon, I really worry about employee relations, because they have a very poor record, according to CNN and New York Times. So I don't think that the employees will benefit from being hired by Amazon. If you want to put a plant anywhere, I would suggest Capitol Circle Northwest, out near Lowe's, where the Park Place parcel has been sitting vacant for years. Put it somewhere where it's not going to infringe upon neighbors and on the overall appearance and look of our city. This has been sped through. I don't know why there's only one public hearing. It looks like they want to get in under the wire. I think we need to have some sane, thoughtful planning going on and revise what we don't like with regard to green space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bidlingmeyer. Mr. County Administrator, next speaker, please.
Terry Sheridan, to be followed by our final speaker, Gary Hunter.
Mr. Sheridan, thank you very much for being here, sir. Would you please state your name and address for the record? You have 3 minutes.
Terry Sheridan, 2471 Thornton Road. I am here tonight to make sure that all commissioners understand the inevitable changes that will occur here when a center of this size is operating, and the responsibility of each commissioner to mitigate the adverse effects of the people living on the east side of Leon County. I am concerned that the Leon County Planning Commission is blindly approving the Project Mango development without any of the critical thinking for a project with such far-reaching impact. Is it best practice to only consider studies that were bought and paid for by the applicant themselves? The engineering firm paid by the applicant is providing studies that do not suggest any significant concerns for traffic or noise. There is abundant real-world evidence easily found in internet reports of serious adverse effects on traffic and noise at numerous Amazon facilities located around the country. What makes the Commission think similar problems won't occur here? To blindly accept reports that are brought and paid for by the developer entity is clearly a conflict of interest and would not be accepted in any other interest. Any reasonable person can see that with a minimum of 1,000 car trips daily, focused on 2 shift changes pouring out onto 2 roads, along with the exponentially increasing traffic already occurring from the growing residential complexes in the area, creates the potential for a mini FSU football game type gridlock on a daily basis. Critical thinking before approval with processes in place to mitigate these negative impacts to the quality of life for Eastern Leon County, it's mandatory. You commissioners who are elected to protect the interests of all county residents must finally supply that critical thinking. I want to look each commissioner in the eye and seriously ask them if under these circumstances they would want to move into our beautiful neighborhood. In your heart, do you really think that there is any way that 1,000 car trips plus 600 semi-truck trips daily through our neighborhoods won't create excess noise and traffic like other places? I can't imagine that any of you would like to see the predictable Tallahassee Democrat articles that outline the negative problems associated with developments of this size. You commissioners will be held responsible for the changes this fulfillment center brings to this community. Your names will be forever associated with your vote. Don't mess this up. Do not let the Amazon genie out of the bottle until you have had time to critically evaluate unbiased studies that will accurately give you the information needed to properly assess this Amazon development and to plan for the future by providing proactive solutions to the problems that can already be predicted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sheridan. Appreciate it. Mr. County Administrator, next speaker.
Final speaker, Gary Hunter.
Mr. Hunter, welcome, sir. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Gary Hunter here on behalf of Seafried Industrial Properties, the applicant. My address is 119 South Monroe Street here in Tallahassee. It is a privilege to be before you tonight to celebrate, frankly, the work of your staff and Ms. Paredes' department to pull together this project in the time frame which it has done so. Remember, we're working with a land development code, both the environmental and development standards of our code that is as robust as any in this state. And I do projects all over the state, and you all know and your staff knows that we are onerous in asking project applicants to comply with the standards that this community imposes and expects of it. This project, as you heard Mr. Wilcox explain, has exceeded almost all of your standards, both the development side standards and the environmental standards. We're compliant with your comp plan. We're compliant with your land development code. Your staff has been through exhaustive review of this application in what now is the 3rd public hearing on this project. And not once has anyone suggested that the project is not compliant with the county code and standards, and indeed exceeds it. And you've heard those compliments this evening. We're offering transportation improvements that are $5 million in excess of our transportation impacts. And most importantly, at the end of the day, we're offering our community an economic impact from the standpoint of both the construction jobs, but ultimately the permanent jobs of all levels of compensation that is beyond what we've ever experienced, frankly, in this community. And so we really should celebrate it tonight. And I will echo what Mr. Long said earlier when he provided his comments. Your staff has busted their tails literally for 6 months to get one of the largest projects in the history of our community properly submitted and reviewed and before you in a frankly unbelievable, remarkable time frame. And it's a credit to them. And it's a credit to Kimley Horn, who did all the work on the applicant side, which I had nothing to do with, of getting the materials and the submissions correct when they submitted it to your staff. So I just say congratulations to Leon County and Tallahassee for being able to bring this project to our community and for you to have the foresight to employ the people that are as good as they are at what they do and getting this project to the status that it is this evening. I've got the engineering team here. If you have questions of them, they're happy to answer them. And we're happy to support Mr. Wilcox and his team in addressing any questions you have of them. But most importantly, we appreciate the effort that you all and your staff have given, and thank you for your favorable consideration this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Mr. County Administrator, no more speakers, is that correct?
Correct, sir.
All right, commissioners. Commissioner Dozier.
Mr. Chair, I'd love to let my colleague, Commissioner Jackson, go first. He was about to hit that button.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to speak first, sir?
Sure. I'd like to move option one.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I second.
Okay, so the motion for option one has been made by Commissioner Jackson and seconded by Commissioner Cummings. Any other comments, Mr. Jackson?
That'll be it.
All right, Commissioner Dozier.
All right, well, that one was quick. Thank you, Commissioner Jackson.
He's a principal. He didn't have time to mess around.
First, for the county attorney, I need to disclose 2 emails I received today that were not submitted to her and were not in the record as of last week at noon, correct? I received them both today. So, Mr. Chair, I'll do this real quick for the county attorney. I received one email, I believe we all, or many of us did, actually only a few of us did, from Mr. Jeff Vandermeer. That actually did come in yesterday, Madam County Attorney. And I received an email from Kim Ross, who sent that email was already disclosed. She sent it to someone else as well. So those are the 2 additional emails which you have for the record. Is that sufficient?
Madam County Attorney.
We understand the general scope of Ms. or Kim Ross's communication. Could you summarize the other? Thank you.
Forgive me. Mr. Vandermeer asked that we delay the decision on the so-called Project Mango and focused on the environmental footprint, Lake Lafayette, and the location of this project. Sufficient? Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Dozier.
Mr. Chair. All right. Well, I'll go back to my notes now that we've got, and that is actually a decent transition here. Quasi-judicial proceedings are rather unique for us, given the disclosure and the narrow range in which we can make a decision about these projects if it meets code, as assessed by our staff, legally, what is on the books today. We have very limited options to deny a project. And I wanted to mention that because we have been asked to delay or deny this project. This board actually has a recent experience, something related to Southwood, where we did deny a Type C request. It was appealed, it went to a magistrate, and they upheld our decision, but that was because we had substantial evidence it didn't fit with our code. This one, from my perspective, I don't see that evidence. And having been through that process, while there are some concerns, and I'm going to get to that in a moment, Mr. Chair, I don't think that we have the same legal provisions to deny this project as we might have Southwood. So I think that is important for us to recognize. It does not mean, and this is unique, we may say we won't see a project like this in the future, but when something like this comes up, I think it does illuminate certain challenges. To know that the activity center designation that went in 2012, Barry, you mentioned this, that it was a very old designation, and you had to kind of look at that and make the comparisons. That judgment was made, and I think you went through that process, but it surprised me that this type of facility worked in the same space as we thought of as an activity center. So that was just a surprise. I think that is something that we may look at in the future of these different designations, but those were the rules on the books when the project came to us, and that's where we have to make our decision. Particularly in light of this particular project, I think I'm not going to question you, Barry, on a lot of the different traffic numbers and things like that, on the road capacities and other things. But I do think that there is
a need to look at this more holistically. We have a tremendous amount of developments, new housing developments coming online on Mahan. There is a proposed 190-unit plus apartment complex directly across the street on the corner of Vineland and Mahan Drive. Concurrency-wise, that developer will have to deal with the impact of Project Mango, and that could be very challenging. I mean, Mango got in there first. So we do these traffic counts in a very, formulaic way, but there is more of a significant kind of regional impact. And frankly, I don't know if we fully understand what that's going to look like on down the line. Again, this is not something that we can require of the developer today, but a couple of issues, Mr. County Administrator, I wanted to raise that we discussed in our briefing yesterday. One is Thornton Road. And while I do not have a conflict of interest, I'm going to go ahead and disclose for the record that Dr. Terry Sheridan, retired, is my uncle. I have spent time on Thornton Road throughout my life. I even lived in the apartment behind his house with my mother for a time when I was in middle school. I know this property intimately. We were here in the chambers when we did the activity center designation with Mr. Moore back in 2012. And I have to look at family right now and constituents in the area and say, I can't mitigate these issues that you're bringing up because of the land use designation. But the traffic on Thornton Road is of concern. And Mr. County Administrator, we talked about the Thornton Road extension to the Welaunee Boulevard, which crosses the Greenway, potentially. That is in the city's hands. My understanding is they have initiated some work on that years ago. They continue to work with DEP about crossing the Greenway. Any employees that may leave through the Thornton Road exit are either going to hit on the south side a stop sign, and they could go left or right onto Mahan. On the north side, they will come to a canopy road. And if anyone's going out towards the Bradfordville area or anything like that, I believe there could be more impact. Traffic's going to find the easiest way, particularly during those peak hours. So, Mr. County Administrator, and I guess this would be a question for you, but also the county attorney, are we able to, in addition to the motion that's on the floor, have a separate motion after we dispense with this to ask the county administrator to engage with the city on a couple of issues, for example, the Thornton Road extension, because that may be of benefit to this project in the long term. Would that be acceptable, Madam Attorney, Mr. Chair?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Dozier.
I'm asking the county attorney.
Oh, yes. Madam County Attorney.
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay. So if my colleagues are okay with this, I'm just going to go ahead and ask these questions now. We can dispense with that motion. I can come back to it. So, Mr. County Administrator, the Thornton Road extension, is that one area where you could engage our city partners because of the traffic impact to a canopy road, the potential here, and try to expedite the Thornton Road extension to Welaunee Boulevard?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. County
Yes, Commissioner and Commissioners, just to, it feels like ancient history now, but it was all the way back in 2012, Commissioner Dozier, that we entered into an agreement with the City of Tallahassee and several other stakeholders, including neighborhoods, that when the city needed access to their property, to the PUD at Welaunee, that at that point in time, that the city would go to the state of Florida to seek authorization to utilize the Greenway space as one of their access points, thus aligning with Thornton Road rather than Arundel and others. So there is a 2012 agreement. It's timed along with their need to get access to the property. So it's a little open-ended at this point, but my understanding is that they are actively engaging with the state of Florida on that. Not exactly sure what the timing is, but they are engaged on that, and that agreement still stands.
If there is an opening to amend that agreement that we need that extension to alleviate pressure, potential pressure on the Canopy Road, even before the city may develop that property, do you think that's a conversation you can have with the city manager?
That's one that I'd be happy to have.
Thank you, sir. Similarly, in the ARM or DRC meeting, there was some discussion about a Star Metro bus stop. In this item, it says the company will build a bus stop for if and when a bus is extended to this location. It seems to me this is another policy decision we may want to reflect on in the future. If a business comes in with a certain threshold of jobs, we may say that we need to extend Star Metro to that facility. So, Mr. County Administrator, we discussed this yesterday, and you said that was another issue that you could discuss with the city manager because of the potential benefit to employees to use the bus to reach this facility, and that would decrease the number of single-car vehicles going there at shift change. So that is something you would be willing to discuss, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. The third issue we discussed, and Mr. Chair, I'm wrapping this up in just a second, we'll call it a minute, is the stormwater issue. I understand the stormwater analysis for this site is locked in, and you've got the 100-year flood, other things accommodated for, but we are in the Lake Lafayette Basin, and the overflow of this site, my understanding is that it flows down behind the old golf course, Cross Creek area, and it gets into a low-lying area where there is a neighborhood in the floodplain. This is something that we just want to ensure. We discussed this, Ms. County Administrator, you and Barry and I during briefing, to ensure that we can accommodate a significant storm event like a tropical storm when there's overflow and it's going into that basin and we don't have impact on those other neighborhoods. So those three issues, Mr. Chair, are ones that I'll come back to with board direction, ask the county administrator to look into. The only other two things that I was going to mention for this time is I really would love to have some ability to reflect on the impact of this project 6 months after it's built, to work with this company. I think they have gone above and beyond a lot of our code. They are willing to look at sustainability issues. I'll come back to that in half a second. But I think we do need to look at the noise, look at the lighting, other things like that once it's built. It's hard to compare this project to another one in another community. That has certainly been suggested, but there may be other mitigation that benefits traffic, stormwater, lighting, sound, all of those types of things once it is built. And I'm just going to put that placeholder out there because I think we do need to look at the longer term impacts. The last thing, Mr. Chair, is, and this is in the public records, but we did have a rep from the company who met with many of us. I'm not sure if met with all of us. And I asked about sustainability. We've had a lot of questions about that. We don't have a policy to incentivize or require those sustainability goals that many of you have mentioned. I think that's another policy thing we could talk about in the future. But one comment, and we discussed this language, that the rep did confirm that the building would be built to accommodate solar in the future. And that was very significant. So they said that I could mention that this evening, and there could be other conversations in the future once things are disclosed. So I do think there are some commitments to other goals that some of you have mentioned on sustainability, and those conversations should continue. So thank you for bringing that up. That is it, Mr. Chair.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Dozier. Any other folks in the speaker's queue? Commissioner Welch, are you with us, sir? Do you have any comments on this agenda item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do.
Okay. Did not. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Maddox.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. There's a lot of challenges there. As a matter of fact, the smartest person in my house, my wife, actually looked at me the other day and said, what about the traffic? So Commissioner Dozier, your questions in Star Metro is something that even someone who doesn't sit in the seat every day can recognize as a challenge that's going to come up. But I'm pretty sure that we have things to mitigate that, and talking to Star Metro and coming up with ways to make sure that we are handling that effectively for the neighbors that live in the area. The other side of it is $200 million in investment. Construction starting in September, ending in October 2022. $15 an hour at a minimum for 1,000 jobs coming to this community. This is an absolute win for us. But again, no win comes without any challenges. and we just have to work our way through them the best way we can, taking into account all the people who are going to be affected by it. And I ask that not just our staff, but the company be very sensitive to the fact that you're coming into a community and you're affecting lives, not just those that you're going to affect with those 1,000 jobs and $15 an hour, but those landowners that are giving up land and those neighbors that are going to have to endure traffic and things of that nature. Be empathetic and sympathetic to those things as well. Just as I'm going to be excited about the opportunity that's going to give to those folks in our town that right now need a job that's paying $15 an hour. But the benefits don't just stop there. Also know that the people who are making that $15 an hour, the company doesn't even intend for them to really stay and make $15 an hour. Incentive program, 80% or 90%, I think it's 80% of their tuition will be paid for them to improve themselves in order for them to get a higher job outside of the company that's going to pay for their tuition. That's the kind of stuff that you want in your community. That's the kind of stuff that you want in your community. And so again, as I am empathetic and sympathetic for those who are going to be impacted by this huge development for our community, and I'm sure our staff and company is as well, I ask us all to be excited about the opportunity it's going to provide for those on every side of town that will be able to benefit from all of the best of benefits that come with working for this company. And so I'm excited. I equally have the same sense of some concerns, but I know we'll work through them. And in the end, our company will be bigger and better because of it. I'm sorry, our community will be bigger and better because of it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Maddox. I have some final comments to wrap up, but I do have some additional emails to disclose. There are some things that came in just recently, as well as some items that had come in quite a bit ago. The county attorney and I had a discussion about it, but I didn't understand exactly. I think I misunderstood what your comments were. So if you'll bear with me, I do have to disclose these because it is a quasi-judicial agenda item. Just give me just a couple minutes to run through them, please. Got an email today from bakerpicks@hotmail.com asking us to not approve the project. Got the email from Ms. Kim Ross representing Tally 100, as is previously stated. Got an email from Terry Sheridan, same email as Commissioner Dozier had brought up. An email from Jeff Vandermeer, as previously stated by Commissioner Dozier. An email from Craig Brown on July 9th, bringing up a number of issues, some of which he discussed during his virtual participation with the meeting. One second, please. Jan Rubino sent me a message on June 26th asking some questions about the project and pointing out some concerns that she had, sending me a link to marketplace.org. Almost done. KH Veal sent me an email dated June 22nd with concerns about traffic study, noise level, and other issues that have been brought up, industrial zoning. John Veal sent me an email June 16th with similar concerns, asking us to pause. Andy Rasmussen, June 25th, who sent us a letter on the Fulfillment Center development. Ms. Ann Billingmeyer on June 12th sent us an email. Asking questions about Mango. Lisa Wickstead asking us to find in the location for Project Mango. Alan Kesey asking us to support Project Mango. Doug Wheeler representing NEBA, sending us a letter from that organization. And I think that concludes my emails from this time period. Thank you very much for your patience. Yes. Before I go ahead and wrap up my comments, Commissioner Welch, did you have some comments, sir?
I do, Mr. Chair. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Thank you. I also received, Madam County Attorney, almost all those emails that everybody else received. I can't enumerate them off cuff like Commissioner Minor did.
I did that all from memory, by the way, just so you know.
It's very impressive, Mr. Chair. I'm incapable of doing that. So, Madam County Attorney, I'll take your advisement on how to disclose those communications. If you want to let me know, we can get to you after the fact or pull it up now. I don't know what you want to do.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Madam County Attorney.
Thank you. Commissioner Welch, if they weren't attached as exhibits, included as attachments to exhibits 5 and 6 of the agenda item, they must be disclosed so that they could be included on the record at this hearing. So we will need you to briefly summarize those communications.
I'm sorry, on point, Madam Attorney.
Yeah, I received
emails we received during the meeting. Does that include emails we received during the meeting?
If you receive them prior to the hearing, then yes.
Oh, okay, but not right now.
No.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I've received the email, almost every email that Commissioner Minor just mentioned. Mr. Kesey, Mr. Sheridan, Craig Brown, Ms. Ross. Again, I'm just doing that off the top of my head. I'm not prepared to present them all. Didn't know I had to.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Welch, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any other comments?
Well, Mr. Chair, I still have some comments to make.
Yes, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Sorry. I just want to echo what I've heard already, Commissioner Dozier say and Commissioner Maddox. Obviously, this is a very big deal, an unprecedented physical development and potential future impact to our community as a whole. I certainly appreciate the concerns of the impacted parties that are proximate to the location. I do want to reiterate that I think we have a very willing applicant, an applicant who wants to be a good member of our community. And I want to say on the record that as we move forward, I will intend to work with the applicant to try and be the best fulfillment center that there is, right? There may be other fulfillment centers or warehouses in this country that are similar, but ultimately we want this one to be the best one it can be, the one that reflects Tallahassee's eco-sensitive philosophies. And, you know, as county commissions and city commissions, we have goals to be 100% sustainable by certain dates. We would like to influence our business partners to have those same sort of value systems. So if it means capacity to put solar on the roof or plant more landscaping around the property to provide tree shade or whatever that takes, or to mitigate noise or to mitigate light, we certainly want to engage with our business partners, and this will be a big one, obviously, to do those things. So I will continue to support the project. I think it's just really good for our community as a whole. When we talk about young people that have problems, and we talk about some of the issues in our community, this provides the opportunity for jobs that could help bridge the gaps between some of our socioeconomically struggling areas, some of our educationally struggling areas, and the economy of scale that will come with this are tremendous sort of once in a lifetime opportunities for our county. And so I think it wouldn't be appropriate to oppose such an incredible development in our community. So thank you for letting me speak, Mr. Chair and Madam County Attorney. We can get all that to you ASAP.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Welch. I've got Commissioner Jackson and then Commissioner Cummings. Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a school teacher. I just want to make sure I get it right here. The advice that you gave to Commissioner Maddox when he asked you about any emails prior to this hearing tonight, can you repeat that for me, please?
Madam County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what's required is disclosure either in advance or at the public hearing of any communications related to this particular matter.
So therefore, anything I've received in the last since we've been in meetings now since I don't know when, that would be necessary to report in the moment tonight?
If it wasn't previously included in Attachment 5 or Attachment 6, Attachment 5 went out Friday, Attachment 6 went out early this afternoon.
Okay.
Then it is something that you would need to disclose.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you cleared that up. I don't want to be wrong.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Any other comments? Commissioner Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just very briefly, I want to thank our staff for all the hard work that they've done in putting this. I don't know what's wrong with my voice. This agenda item together, and just giving us some specifics about various aspects of this major project. But I also want to thank all of my neighbors. I live out east. I'm concerned about the impact as well. But as an elected official, I believe I have an overarching concern that goes beyond my neighborhood. I live in Lafayette Oaks. You know, Thornton Road is over there. So I've got a concern just like all of my neighbors. But my overarching concern is for everybody. And I believe that this is a good project that will bring jobs and more stability to members of our community. But I'm also willing to support Commissioner Dozier. I think we have a continuing obligation and concern to monitor various aspects of this project. And I assure you and I promise you that beyond living out there and beyond having a stake, I am concerned about the overall project, its impact, and its benefit to the county, to Leon County as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Cummings. Okay, well, let me go ahead and then provide some summary comments. I want to thank everybody for providing theirs. You know, as many of us have had meetings with members of the community, Grant Gelhart, Mita Calder, Steve Urs, Kim Ross, who've talked a lot about sustainability practices, and the requests that we've heard have been, you know, all electric vehicles, solar panels, green building standards, things which I think are of interest to all of us. You know, in a recent meeting that I had with a representative of the company behind Project Mango, I brought these concerns up and was very satisfied to hear the response. And if Project Mango is indeed Amazon, we already have the publicly announced goals and vision of the leading company in fulfillment centers committing to sustainability practices. If this company is not Amazon, they are under tremendous pressure to follow suit with what the fulfillment center leader is doing. In that meeting, regardless of what company it is, I was very assured by their response that this is going to be a building that meets a lot of the goals that I've been hearing from folks like Ms. Ross, Ms. Calder, Mr. Urs, and Mr. Gelhart. So those things are very exciting to me because I think as we see more details, we're going to be very happy along those lines. We've also heard a lot about the concerns about labor. The tremendous opportunity of 1,000 employees making $15 an hour or more. You know, the living wage in this community, as MIT's algorithm will tell you, is $13.98. So we will have 1,000 employees that are making $15 an hour or more, $1 higher or more than the living wage in this community. We've heard, I mean, I've read the same articles that many of you all had from New York Times and elsewhere about some fulfillment centers and the concerns about some of the employee, some of the things that employees experience. But if you look at some of the recent studies, there's a study from University of California, Berkeley, that talks about fulfillment centers that are paying $50 an hour or more, and the effect that it has, the positive effect that it has on the surrounding areas. So when a project this large goes into a community paying that kind of wage, the study shows that it increases the wages of the industries and businesses surrounding that project. So that's a positive aspect of this that I'm very much looking forward to. The way I look at this, this is an incredible opportunity for us. Do we have a 100% clear picture of what lies before us? Absolutely not. We never do. On a project of this magnitude, we have to take the information that we have. It's never going to be crystal clear, but we have the outlines of what we're looking at. And those outlines are very positive for this community. And so I'm of the opinion we need to really embrace this. I know there are people that are going to be upset and disappointed, but after looking at this, I know we all have, after looking at this, I'm convinced that this is going to be a boon for Tallahassee and Leon County. And so I'm enthusiastically supporting this. I know there are people that are going to be upset. We've heard from many of them today. But it's a hard decision, but I think this is the right one. We're venturing forward, and we are grabbing at what the future what a lot of the future business world is going to be like, and this is going to help us be able to keep up and meet those demands that we see for the future. So I'm very excited about supporting this. Any other final comments before we move to the vote? Any other opportunities for people, and I know this is a terrible question, but any other opportunities for people that feel they need to disclose any ex parte communications? Okay. All right, well, all those in favor of the motion as stated, option 1, motion made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Dozier. All those in favor say aye. 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 Okay, all opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously 6-0 with the Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers. All right, Commissioner Dozier, do you have a comment, ma'am?
Mr. Chair, the motion I was going to make, as promised, and just for the record, I believe Commissioner Cummings seconded Commissioner Jackson's.
All right. So Commissioner Cummings seconded the motion for option 1 under item 37.
Okay. So not to go back through, and I appreciate your comments from my colleagues. Just to reiterate this, you all have focused on the job creation and the benefits to our community a lot more than I did. I went to the neighborhood concerns. I do agree with you. This is a positive thing for our community, bringing an incredible number of jobs. The location is challenging with some of the other issues that we've talked about. But I think we can mitigate it. These issues that I'm about to lay out in this motion, I do recognize they are not issues that the company will be responsible for necessarily. This meets their responsibility within the scope of the site plan. We may be able to work with them in the future, but this motion is asking our county administrator to work with the city manager and for us to look at some issues about 6 months after opening to see if other mitigation is required. So just wanted to make that clear again. So the motion would include for our county administrator to reach out to the city manager to discuss the Thornton Road extension to alleviate pressure on Miccosukee Road from those using Thornton Road, and to discuss Star Metro extension to the location.
He might be like Spark, to Paul.
I'll pause for a second.
Ron's been told.
Mr. County Administrator, is this you showing us virtual comments won't work? Sorry, I couldn't help that. That's a previous conversation for you all. That's not what that was. Okay. All right. So for County Administrator to discuss Star Metro Thornton Road extension with the City Manager. For our staff to review the stormwater capacity, particularly the overflow as it may impact Alfred Arms and the neighborhoods on the south side of Vineland and Mahan Drive. And thirdly, to conduct some kind of review, a check-in after 6 months after occupancy, to see if there are any issues that we need to address, discussing sound, traffic, other things like that, and further mitigation. So that is my motion.
All right, motion's been made by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Commissioner Cummings. Any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none. Commissioner Welch, any discussion on the motion made by Commissioner Dozier?
No, sir.
Okay. All in favor of the motion as stated by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Commissioner Cummings, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, I show Commissioner Welch is voting in the affirmative. The vote is 6-0 with Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers. All right, Mr. County Administrator, would you please introduce the next item, number 38?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this item number 38, requests the board to conduct the second and final required public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance amending the rural zoning district to revise the development standards for community service uses to provide greater flexibility in design for these uses on larger projects. Commissioners, this is the second time, again, your second public hearing on this issue. We have no speakers on this item. We're recommending option 1.
Commissioners, okay, Commissioner Maddox has motioned for option 1, seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Commissioner Welch, that's voting in the affirmative, right? Okay, motion passes 6-0 with Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers. Mr. County Administrator, would you please introduce the next item?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will defer to the County Attorney on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This agenda item is a result of a request or approval by the board at the June 8th, 2021 meeting to schedule the first and only public hearing to consider adopting the proposed ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 8 of the Leon County Code of Laws relating to local emergency management. This item requests the board conduct the public hearing to consider adopting the proposed ordinance, which is being presented to the board in part to address inconsistency or really to ensure consistency between our ordinance related to local emergency management and certain statutory changes that were made during this past legislative session. We also took the opportunity to go ahead and rename, reorganize some of the articles and provide further clarifications and additional definitions consistent with Chapter 252 of the Florida statutes. These emergency management provisions of the code were last amended in 2010, so we feel like these updates are timely, and staff recommends option 1.
Thank you, Madam County Attorney. Commissioners, Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very much appreciate, Madam County Attorney, you and your office and the thorough way you worked with our emergency management folks to unpack the recent legislation, give us options. I think the emergency order and declaration will get used to those different terminology. So I truly appreciate all of the work you all did to structure this item in a way that is clear and consistent. I think we all know that we need to adopt this due to legislation that was passed, but I am not convinced. I think there's a lot of folks who aren't convinced that it is going to work if it's ever put into effect. If the governor were to veto a local order dealing with public health or something like that. I, for one, just wanted to go on record that should we ever come into an issue like that, I think local control of our emergency declarations is very important. We have proven as a community that we can respond to these issues quite well, regardless of what happens in other areas of the state of the country. And I would hope we would challenge that if that ever came to fruition. Having said that, I think we do need to make these changes at this point. So, Mr. Chair, I will make a motion for option 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dozier. Made the motion for option 1, seconded by Commissioner Maddox. Any other speakers? Commissioner Welch, any comments, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, motion made by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Commissioner Maddox, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Commissioner Welch, you still with us?
Yes, sir.
All right. You support the motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the motion passes unanimously, 6-0 with Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers. Mr. County Administrator, will you please introduce the next item?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, item number 40 is a public hearing to provide for the adoption of the assessment role for stormwater management for the non-ad valorem special assessment for stormwater. This is required by Florida statutes. We have no speakers on this item. We're recommending option 1.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. All right. Commissioner Maddox moves for option 1, seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
All right. The motion passes unanimously 6-0 with Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers. Next item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, similarly, item number 41 seeks your adoption or to conduct a public hearing on the adoption of the assessment role for the fire rescues non-ad valorem special assessment. With that, again, we're recommending option 1, and we have no speakers on this item.
All right. Commissioner Maddox moves for option 1, staff recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Cummings. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously 6-0 with Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers. Next item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, it's that time of the year, and item number 42 does the same thing. It seeks your adoption and to conduct a public hearing on the adoption of the assessment for the solid waste disposal services non-ad valorem special assessment. We're recommending option 1, and we have no speakers on this item.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. Commissioners. All right, Commissioner Maddox moves for option 1, seconded by Commissioner Dozier. All those any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously 6-0 with Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers. Next item, please.
Chairman, I believe we are back on general business.
Okay, that's correct. Would you please introduce item number 43 under general business?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe we're on item number 35. It is the development of the policy and the criteria for designating new canopy roads. As we indicate in the item and in the analysis, the policy formalizes the process for determining eligibility for recommending new qualifying roads to the Board of County Commissioners for designation as a canopy road. Again, the analysis is before you. We're happy to answer any questions you might have. We are recommending option 1. We have no speakers on this item.
Commissioners, any discussion? Commissioner Maddox has moved for option 1, seconded by Commissioner Cummings. Any discussion? Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I discussed this issue with the county attorney a good bit and the county administrator. I appreciate, Madam County Attorney, your caution about vested property rights, and this led to the recommendation that we, in this policy, have 100% approval by residents before initiating this process. In other circumstances, whether it is a 2/3 road program where the county might be helping, improve a road or a road renaming, it is virtually impossible to get 100% approval initially. And I think, Madam Attorney, you had also said in our briefing that even with 100%, it doesn't prevent challenges to a canopy road designation at some point after that. So I'm wondering if the board would consider a 90% rule or something like that, at least to start the discussion. It doesn't necessarily mean that there would be a designation, but sometimes part of that discussion could lead to a greater consensus. And Mr. Chair, I would also say if it said anything that wouldn't work with this policy, I would welcome comments by the county administrator or county attorney on that. But I'm just wondering if we can mitigate this a little bit to at least start that investigation process about canopy roads.
All right. Is that a question of?
Well, just if there was any, would that work? I guess I'll frame it as a question. I understand the caution, Madam County Attorney, for sure, with 100%, but would a 90% give us a little more flexibility to explore this and work with property owners, or your concerns kind of override?
Madam County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think 90 is better than 60.
Yes.
Again, one of the reasons that we were really recommending 100% is because it does mitigate the risk more. So it's really up to the board in terms of your risk tolerance, and ultimately it's your policy call. We just want you to be informed about any potential legal implications going forward, but really it's up to your discretion.
One follow-up, Mr. Chair. If we had a 90% or so, we would be able to assess the those who didn't support the designation and what that risk might be before the formal designation was in place. I mean, we would have time to look at that, or would it would just automatically go in place if there was 90% agreement?
Madam County Attorney.
Thank you. It's a good question, Commissioner Dozier, and I don't know procedurally what the impacts would be changing it from 100% to a 90, and whether it would affect kind of the I think your intent here and providing an opportunity to further explore landowner consent in that context. So honestly, I can't speak to that offhand.
Mr. Chair, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Chair, I would just ask the county administrator, do you have anything to add to that? Do you think this would mitigate it a little bit, give us a little more flexibility, or is it virtually the same as 100%? And
Mr. County Administrator.
Oh, just only one observation. I mean, I would agree entirely with the county attorney in terms of it really is a matter of risk tolerance for the board. The only thing I would suggest is the issue that is very similar to a 100% petition threshold is the fact that the petitioners have to realize that 90% is a very high goal to try to reach. And I think it would be very similar. I think their approach would be very similar in consideration with whether they wanted to move forward in trying to reach 90 or 100%. So I think they recognize that there would have to be pretty broad support.
okay. For my colleagues, I mean, I can imagine a lot of scenarios of a landowner who's not there, is not engaged, or something else that may be brought into the conversation at a different point. I would feel comfortable at a 90% because it would still come back for a decision. At some point, we would be able to assess that risk. If others are very concerned about that, I can hold at the 100% and move forward with this. But Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I'll just leave that for any other thoughts from the board. But I could make a substitute motion as well.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Dozier. Any other comments from commissioners?
Okay. Well, Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and make a substitute motion for 90% just to see if we've got support for that, and if not, we can roll right back to the original motion.
And just to clarify, Commissioner Dozier, your substitute amendment is restricted to just that 90% from 100. Is that correct?
That is it. Everything else remains exactly the same. It's just given a little bit more flexibility.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, sir.
Any discussion from the commissioners on the? It's a substitute motion. Okay, we're voting on the substitute motion to change the 100% threshold to 90. Commissioner Welch, any comments, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, so we'll vote on the substitute motion. All those in favor of the motion, the substitute motion as stated by Commissioner Dozier and seconded by myself, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Commissioner Welch, are you voting in the affirmative, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Great. It's all right. So the vote's unanimous, 6-0 with Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers. All right, Mr. County Administrator, next item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, item number 36 seeks the board's appointment of citizens to the Board of Adjustment and Appeals, County Roads Committee, the Educational Facilities Authority, and the Planning Commission. Option 1, commissioners, is for one citizen to be appointed to the Board of Adjustment and Appeals, but you have 2 applicants, and those eligible applicants are presented for your consideration under option 1.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. Commissioners.
Mr. Chair? Or did you call on?
Commissioner Cummings beat you by like a split second.
Oh, I did?
If you don't mind. And then we'll go to Commissioner Cummings and then Commissioner Jackson.
Mr. Chairman, I just move for option 1 appointment of Jan Tucker Petaway to that opening.
Okay, so a motion's been made by Commissioner Cummings for Ms. Jan Tucker Petway for under option 1, seconded by, I think Commissioner Dozier was just a hair before you were, Commissioner Jackson, on that.
That's right. You got it.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, Commissioner Welch, I'm sorry, are you voting yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, motion passes unanimously 6-0 with Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers. What's next? Option 2.
I'd like to move option 3 and option 4 that have single applicants.
All right, I'll second that. Any discussion on those, on option 3 and option 4?
And I would mention Rod McQueen would be disappointed if I didn't, so hopefully Rod's paying attention tonight. He's an awesome guy and does a great job for Leon County Schools and small business here in Leon County.
Commissioner Jackson, I mean, we couldn't find anybody else but Rod McQueen?
Okay, so the motion for option 3 and option 4 with the people that are listed under each option. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously 6-0 with Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers.
And
So
Mr.
we've got
Chairman,
option 2.
may I just add that I support, of course, and voted in favor of the motion, but just want to commend Ms. Rika Calhoun as well, Your Honor.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, that's all right.
commend
That's right.
her-
Thank you. It's
her good work.
a long day. Thank you very much, Commissioner Cummings. All right, so we've got option 2. Anybody interested in option 2? Commissioner Dozier?
Mr. Chair, I'm looking at the 3 applicants who applied. I think all 3 look good. I don't actually know any of these 3 people personally, so I'm not sure if anyone else has a recommendation. But I was just looking back at the application. So if we could just have one moment.
Commissioner Maddox.
I'm looking at, I'm actually thinking more about, since we don't really have, we got 4 males. If one of those, well, that doesn't help. I would go with Carolyn Payne. That would give us a 5-5 split as far as male and female. I would have liked to have seen another minority, but we don't have one in the running. They're all white. So I'll go with Carolyn Payne as my recommendation for the Canopy Roseman.
Yes. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Maddox. It was nominated Carolyn Payne under option 2, seconded just split second before Commissioner Dozier, Commissioner Jackson. All right, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, 6-0 with Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers. And that concludes this agenda item. Next item, Mr. County Administrator.
Thank you, Commissioners. Your final general business item is an add-on item that we put on following your workshops today, recognizing that we've got a break upcoming, and so that is before you for your consideration, and we're recommending your ratification of those actions taken today.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator.
Move ratification.
All right, motions are made for ratification. I'll second that. Any discussion on the motion?
I have a discussion.
What's that, Mr. Maddox?
I did it the right way. I made the motion first. I was excited. All right. Mr. Administrator, I had something I want to bring to the table during the workshop, but I think it's more appropriate to bring it today or here right now. Have we ever had the idea of looking into workforce housing, a percentage of a PUD being for workforce housing specifically for first responders and teachers, using the affordable housing guidelines as the actual pricing or guidelines for cost of those workforce housing units? Is that something that we've considered, or is that something that's being done already? I don't think it is, but if not, I'd like for us to evaluate the idea.
Mr. County Administrator.
I Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Or would you be are you suggesting, Commissioner, that I'm trying to hone in on the policy issue here? It would generally be maybe associated with a development project, proposed by a private sector developer that might be seeking the.
I'll tell you what, I got an idea here. So along with my motion, I would like for agenda item to come back, looking at implementing workforce housing percentages into PUDs for first responders and teachers using the affordable housing guidelines as the use for or as the measurement for the cost of those units. Along in that item, in that agenda item, could you please look at who's doing it across the state and what exactly it looks like, and if it's something that we can consider along with the city? That would be my amendment to the motion to add that agenda item. My reason for doing so is we all know the work that first responders do for our community, how important they are, as well as the kind of champions teachers are to our children. There's not a body in here that didn't have a teacher. That's the reason that they're sitting right in the seats that they're sitting here right now. If you ask me, teachers should be the real millionaires, billionaires in this world. But granted, there's so many of them, we just can't pay them enough or give them enough credit. And so if there's a way that we can create a situation where we can create affordable housing or units for them, I would like for us to consider such. So that's why I'm asking for the item to come back for us to consider. Thank you.
As a seconder of the motion, I will approve. I'm okay with that amendment. Any discussion on the motion or the amendment? All right. All those in favor of the motion made by Commissioner Maddox for ratification, seconded by myself as amended, Commissioner Dozier.
Mr. Chair, I was going to let this go because I have a comment about the ratification, not about the motion necessarily. I'll support it moving forward. But if you'd like me to make my comment right now about the ratification, I will before we move to the vote.
6 1/2 dozen the other.
Okay. We spent time this morning. I think I said this at the end. We needed obviously, a dedicated workshop on homelessness. I do feel bad that we left very little time for Tallahassee Housing Authority. I'm glad we got some update, but I hope we are very careful in the future about adding other agenda items when there is something that is going to have so much content. And when we host it at the city in a joint workshop, we're going to have public comment as well. So that added some time. For my part, as I said this morning, I won't rehash it. I was more concerned about expediting the funds and COC versus CHSP, but because I focused on that, I didn't talk about a lot of the substance of the plan. And many of you did call that out. Commissioner Cummings, I'm glad you raised mental health, and that was a good discussion about that, and there was many other, issues we could have covered. So I'm not sure it's the moment to ask for another workshop. I don't think we need that at this time right now, but I do think as we work through with Big Bend Continuum of Care, there will be a need for at least our board, but hopefully with the city, to dig into some of those policy implications. It was significant that Mrs. Wonder from POC said the funding we have allocated only covers 1/8 of that strategic plan. If we are relying on COC to be a guidepost for addressing these critical issues in our community, we're going to have to step up with our city partners and private sector partners and others to address that. So I just wanted to make that final comment to the workshop. It's something this board has really dug into in the last 6 months. I appreciate all of you, and I hope we will stay on top of it moving forward. Thank you.
Commissioner Dozier, thank you very much for your comments. As the current representative from the county to the Big Bend COC, I agree with you completely. One thing I think we got from the workshop was that, yes, homelessness, according to the point in time count, is down 29%. But Ms. Wander said that, after the pandemic's effects tend to ebb, we may see that come back up to 800 or around that range, right? So what I took to mean from that was that we're still in a very much a transitional period as we come out of the pandemic. And with this new funding that we are in the midst of ratifying and approving from the county side, city will do the same, That's going to have I think, hopefully, a very large impact on our efforts to reduce homelessness. But then we also have the changing dynamics of what homelessness is coming through a pandemic. So I think we're going to need to see, and I agree with you, at some point we will need to see an update from the Big Bank and COC on how this funding is having success and what the new truly post-pandemic world looks like here in terms of homelessness. So thank you. Any other comments? All those in favor of the motion made by Commissioner Maddox, seconded by myself, as amended, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimously 6-0 with Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers. And I think, Mr. County Administrator, that does conclude our general business. Is that correct?
That does, Mr. Chairman. We have one speaker to be heard on non-agenda items.
All right. Would you please introduce that speaker?
Delantre Hollinger.
Mr. Hollinger, are you with us? He's not virtual, is he? All right. Well, I think Mr. Hollinger is left for this evening. Let's go ahead and we'll continue on. Mr. County Administrator, we've got next items from the County Attorney. So, Madam County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to recognize someone who has been sitting in the room and working with the commission for months now. It's Dana. She's going to be leaving. This is her last meeting before she goes off to law school. So she works with Beryl in the clerk's office. So just wanted to say thank you and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good luck. Anything else, Madam County Attorney?
Mr. Chair, thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. County Administrator, any items from you, sir?
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Items for discussion by county commissioners. Commissioner Cummings, you want to start first? All right. Commissioner, thank you very much, ma'am. Commissioner Jackson?
Yeah, I would just echo some really good things went on at our workshop today. I apologize for my tardiness, but I think that we're starting to address issues that are all a part of our business as local decision makers. Because every homeless person that we can help and transition into some other role, who knows, we may be able to get them one of those 1,000 jobs that are going to be coming to us through Project Mango. And on that note, I will say I'm super excited about the largest economic and financial development to ever come to Leon County. And to be a part of that is fairly historical. I know that Commissioner Maddox said he was excited twice, so I'm not going to try to outdo that. But I think it's phenomenal, and it's a reflection of the work that we have done and the Barry and his team have done to get things rolling and get things on board. I couldn't be prouder than to serve with folks that are looking out for, at least among us, because we know that the ticket out of generational poverty is a job and solving economic issues. And for us to be able to almost single-handedly create those sorts of opportunities gives me great pleasure in serving with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Dozier.
I'm pushing the wrong button, Mr. Chair. It's been a long day. Three quick issues. Mr. County Administrator, I think after our June 8th meeting, I was contacted by a constituent who has a project in Urban Fringe, and we discussed the signage restrictions. This is a scenario where our policy requires the signage only on the building, but this building is set far back from the road, and this particular business is not on a major intersection, but other businesses or churches in close proximity do have signage on the street. So we were talking about whether or not the Urban Fringe sign restrictions could be a little too restrictive in an area like this where there are other commercial and religious institutions with signage. You had said you were going to look at that. We were going to talk about it. I'm just wondering if you need, and forgive me for not bringing this up during briefing yesterday. I thought I would ask about it tonight. If this is our last opportunity to get board direction before September. So I would like to look at that policy. It is not something I would want to, have no restrictions on signage in urban fringe, to be sure. But there may be certain areas where it is logical to allow some signage for commercial in those pockets. So do you need board direction, or is this something you can bring back to us?
It is something, it sounds like something that would be good to get the direction to bring back an agenda item.
Okay. I'm not sure if I articulated that very clearly, but this has to do with signage for new businesses. Happens to be a new nursery that's near the intersection of Crump and Mahan, and so it is in line with a number of other commercial and religious institutions. So I'd just like an agenda item to come back to look at that policy and see if there was a way to mitigate that for those businesses in certain locations of urban fringe. That would be my motion. Thank you.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Commissioner Maddox. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Commissioner Welch, did you hear the motion, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm good.
Okay. Motion passes unanimously, 6-0 with Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers. Commissioner Dozier.
It was a bit of a struggle. Forgive me. I'm sorry, but trying to explain exactly what we were after
limping across
there.
the finish line here.
Thank you. The second issue, we've been contacted by several constituents who advocated for the city of Tallahassee to take up a green building policy for their city-owned buildings. The City Commission passed this on July 7th. For our Office of Resource Stewardship and our Sustainability Office, I believe we have been doing a lot of similar, we've had a similar approach to county-owned facilities for a long time. We may have already met some of these goals within our policy. The constituents are advocating for us to take up the same type policy, so I thought it may be best to start with a comparison, Mr. County Administrator, so that we can lift up what we are already doing in our sustainability of our facilities, and that may illuminate some of those issues for the constituents we're talking about, and then we can get into the next steps of the conversation. Does that, Ms. County Administrator, does that sound like a good approach?
Yes, we've got all that information readily available and can bring it back to you for your consideration.
I thought you would, but instead of just taking up an issue and creating a green building policy, I think we need to know what we've already got, which is substantial. So I would make a motion to come back with a review, look at the new policy from the city and what we have already been doing and doing for a very long time.
I'll second that.
Thank you. It has been a long time. Yes.
Any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of the motion as stated by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by myself, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Commissioner Welch, are you voting yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. The motion passes unanimously, 5-0 with Vice Chair Proctor and Commissioner Cummings out of chambers. Anything else, Commissioner Dozier?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Maddox saw me try to get in queue. We were moving pretty quickly through the fees and millage rate there at the end of the public hearings, so I'm going back a bit. I recognize this fire service fee and issues between the fire union, Tallahassee Fire Department, and the city are not something that we have a lot of any involvement in, but the fire service fee is something that we levy and we have to pass on to our county residents. For years, many of us have asked wanted a better understanding of the services, the scope, make sure that, our funding from unincorporated residents is really going to meet those needs. I think we've done a good job over the years. I truly appreciate the Tallahassee Fire Department and the city, and they're working through these issues. But with any audits that may come back or anything else, I think this is an opportunity for us to answer some of those questions. So I hope that we will be engaged with our city partners and share that information for the county side. It's something that we get questions about every year. The very last thing, Mr. Chair, is our numbers are going up. This is the first meeting in over a year we have not had a COVID update. And that's very significant to me. We're all very aware of it. We've had a few people in the audience wearing masks. The Delta variant is very challenging for all of us, and I'm glad we're keeping virtual comments for September. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I truly appreciate our staff's work to continue to encourage our community to get vaccinated, and I really hope that we can keep our numbers down moving forward, and I truly hope this isn't the case, but if there is any need for an update come September or earlier, but I would think in September, getting back into school and other things with students coming back, I hope we can have an update at those meetings, particularly if the numbers stay in the range they're in at this point. Thank you, Mr. County Administrator, for nodding along with me, so I'll take that as an affirmative. That is it. I hope you all have a good mini summer, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Dozier. Commissioner Maddox, and then Commissioner Welch.
Two things, Mr. Chair. I know I received, I don't know if you guys did, but Liberty County wants us to look at a mining resolution, and I don't think it's a bad idea. Mr. County Administrator, I know a while back you guys sent us an email saying, telling us about their desires. Would you recommend that we bring that back as an agenda item, or can we take that resolution up right now?
Your resolutions require, based on your policies, an agenda item.
Okay, so I asked for an agenda item to come back looking at a mining resolution for Liberty County. That's my motion. For Liberty County, yeah.
Is there a second to the motion?
So Liberty County is looking to mine for their, I think it's their oyster. They're trying to get the oysters back there or something like that. But it's just a resolution they've sent to us, they've sent to all of us. Mr. Administrator, if you want to explain it, you could probably explain a little better. But basically, it's just a resolution saying we support their efforts to mine, to restore their oyster population, I guess. It's been supported by various counties in the eight county district, and they've reached out to us to support as well. So again, it's just an agenda item. You want to speak on it, sir? Come on up. Well, only reason because I think he might send me the email.
I'm actually working with Liberty County on it.
Thank you.
And what the request is Liberty County is asking for a support letter. In the southeast corner of their county, they've got a large deposit of fossilized shell, and that shell has been proven effective in other areas, mainly Chesapeake Bay. And what we're wanting to do is do a land swap with the state of Florida, get the land that's currently owned by the state and Tatesville State Forest right now. It is adjacent to my old quarry site. It's right across the street. We will be mining the same deposit. And quite frankly, we want to take that material, get it back on the market, and with the full intent to address Apalachicola Bay and its struggling habitat. But we're seeing oyster densities decline globally. Right. So it's not just Apalachicola Bay, it's all of Florida's oyster habitat.
Yeah, what he said. And it's not a resolution he's asking for, it's actually a letter of support. So I don't know if we still need a motion for that, but is there not a draft letter? Go ahead. If not a draft letter, there's a bunch of examples of other counties sending letters. If we need an agenda item for that, I'll make that motion for an agenda item, but if not, then we could just look at doing a letter.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Mr. County Administrator.
And the county attorney can help me with this, but I believe if you didn't want an agenda item, I think you could just make a motion to waive your rules on that one or waive your policy on that one and take a vote on that and then take a subsequent vote to direct us to move forward with.
You all.
And it's a letter of support, correct?
Yes.
Not
yes. He said letter of support. That's what he wants. That's what he gets.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
All right. So make a motion for a letter of support for the mining operation to restore the oyster population in Liberty County and Apalachicola Bay. That would be my motion.
Point of order. Can
Madam
you
County
waive
Attorney.
your rules first?
Oh, even for a letter of support? Okay. All right. So first motion would be waive the rules for unanimous support or an agenda item prior to us doing a resolution or letter of support. That's my motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
You made, so you made the motion to waive the rules?
Yes.
So that we could have, if this passes, you can have a letter of support?
Yes.
Okay, versus a resolution?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'll support the motion for waiving the rules. I'll also support, I'll support the waiver of the rules. But Mr. Langston, with all due respect, sir, I've had a conversation with him from months ago. And I did some Googling and found some environmental concerns from some of the citizens that were there. Now, those concerns may or may not be meritorious, and I don't know the answer. So I'd have concerns right now by just supporting the letter of support without having a deeper look into what those environmental.
I'll tell you what, let me ask you a question. Do you need this today?
Do not need it today.
Okay, so I'll make a motion for I'll rescind my motion for the waiver of the rules. Make a motion for agenda item to come back. Can you wait till September? We don't have another meeting to that time.
It's up to you, Commissioner.
I'll make a motion just in an effort to try to get some unanimous support. I'll make a motion for the agenda item to come back at our first meeting after break to take up this item. You rather a letter of support or resolution?
Letter of support will be fine.
To take up this item of letter of support for the mining operation in Liberty County to help restore the oyster population at Apalachicola Bay. That's my motion.
Long day. All right, motion's been made and seconded. As Commissioner Maddox said, any discussion? I'll support the motion to bring the agenda item back, sir. And my concerns may come out to be totally lacking merit, but I feel like I've got an obligation, since the letter's being asked of us, to make sure we do our due diligence and take a look at all the different points of view. So, any other discussion? All in favor of the motion as stated by Commissioner Maddox, seconded by Commissioner Jackson, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously, 5-0 with
Thanks, sir.
Vice Chair Proctor and Commissioner Cummings out of chambers. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
The second thing I wanted to bring up was the vote earlier on President Obama Way. Thinking about it and hearing the comments, especially I think Commissioner Dozier brought it up, one of the things was, well, what are we going to send staff away to bring back different options? Because we didn't have necessarily concrete direction as to what we wanted them to bring back. Mr. Administrator, under the auspices of the motion that was made, will the item come back exactly as is with the same options, or do you or will you guys bring back something different based off when the motion is made?
Mr. County Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Commissioner, I think you raised a good point. I mean, I think based on the discussion by several of the commissioners about hearing additional feedback and that sort of thing, that might inform maybe more specific direction to staff or something like that, the board may wish to consider tabling, simply reconsidering your vote, of course, to put it in the right procedure. And of course, Chastity, the county attorney, will have to help guide us on this. But a reconsideration of the previous vote, then to table the issue, rather, the board could, in the interim, receive whatever feedback that you might from the community, which may inform more specific direction that you may want to provide to staff on the street renaming. Otherwise, like you said, Commissioner, it would come back to you as essentially the same item because we've done all of the analysis leading up to this point.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. So, Madam Attorney, as I understand it, during this portion of the meeting, reconsideration would need a unanimous vote, and it would also need to be made by a member of the prevailing side of the vote, correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we reconsider the vote taken earlier in terms of postponing action on the President Obama Way agenda item.
Is there a second?
Second the motion?
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Maddox to reconsider, seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Any discussion? Okay. All's in favor of the motion to reconsider, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Commissioner Welch? Do you support the motion to reconsider?
No.
No. Okay, so the motion passes 4-1.
It does not pass. It needs unanimous.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Unanimous.
You're right. Okay.
I'm sorry, Madam Attorney, given that the motion fails, I cannot make the motion again, correct?
That's correct.
Jesus. All right.
Anything else?
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Is this, the motion is to reconsider the initial agenda item from tonight or to reconsider the action on that agenda item tonight?
To reconsider the action.
Commissioner Welch,
So essentially
what I'm attempting to do here, Commissioner Welch, is, as it sits right now, this agenda item, as described tonight, likely will come back at the first meeting in September as the same exact agenda item for us to take up. I'm not comfortable with that because I think that we wanted more options. Well, staff can't give us more options without having more direction of what more options looks like. A table of this item will give us the opportunity to go out into the community until between now and whenever it comes back to get the community's input on this even more, and then come back with different options or set on the options that we have. And that table is indefinite until we bring it back up. Correct, Madam Attorney?
Adam County Attorney.
That's correct.
Right. This is why I wanted to go ahead and reconsider and come up with tabling. Commissioner Welch.
What was that, Commissioner Welch?
Yeah, that's what I thought. And under that understanding, I am willing to vote in the positive so that we can get unanimity and bring it back for a more comprehensive discussion.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I asked that we reconsider the vote. No, actually, I wasn't on the prevailing side. Commissioner Welch, if you may, could you ask to reconsider the vote?
I'll make a motion to reconsider. I'll make a motion to reconsider the previous vote.
I'll second that motion.
All right. Any discussion on the motion to reconsider? Part 2. All right. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion made by Commissioner Welch, seconded by Commissioner Maddox, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously 5-0.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I keep talking to the attorney, not the chair. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we reconsider the vote on the President Obama Way. That's my motion.
All right. Seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion made by Commissioner Maddox, seconded by Commissioner Jackson, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously 5-0 with Commissioner Cummings and Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we table, what item was it, 33? 34?
32.
I make a motion that we table item number 32 until further notice are brought up by a board member. That's my motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Maddox to table item 32, seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously 5-0 with Commissioner Cummings and Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers. Anything else, Commissioner Maddox?
Mr. Chair, happy summer. It's always a pleasure to serve with you all. Commissioner Jackson, you spoke very eloquently in your comments about the opportunity that we're taking on with the company coming into town. I'm gonna say I'm excited a third time. Almost excited as I was when I put that first national championship ring on, but this is a definite win. This is a championship for us, and we should be proud of it. And again, I do want the company as well as us to be concerned with those landowners that are sacrificing, whether it be through eminent domain or not, sacrificing for the sake of us being able to produce 1,000 jobs and $200 million investment in this community. It's exciting, but those folks are going to have to make sacrifices in order for it to happen. And we should recognize that they're doing that, understand and be sympathetic and empathetic for what they're going through. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy summer. I look forward to seeing you guys in September.
Thank you, Commissioner Maddox. Just to wrap things up, I'll be as quick as I can. Honor Flight Tallahassee is having their next flight on September 18th. For those of you that have been around for a little while, I think that's all of us. Honor Flight Tallahassee takes veterans that basically providing complimentary trips to Washington, D.C. to see the monuments. And in addition to that, they also ask people to serve as guardians who basically support the veteran going. In some cases, that might mean helping to assist via wheelchair, et cetera. I went a couple years ago, really amazing experience. What I'd like to do is seek the board's approval for the $500 cost for that to come out of my travel budget. All right, thank you very much. Motion's been made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Dozier. All those in favor say aye. All right, any discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. Administrator and Mr. Chair, I think underflight is something that, honestly, if any of us want to do it at any time, we should be able to use our budget to do so. Is there a way that we can just make that a part of the approval expenditure for our travel budgets? I know it's not. I mean, we never know. We never know when it's going to be. So we can't. My words, it does.
All right, so Mr. County Administrator, so there's no need for this motion? Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. Listen, I wanted to, what's that, Commissioner Welch?
Can I get some clarification on that? Are we asking if we can use our office budgets to attend honor flight?
Correct, Commissioner Welch. I had seen a previous precedent where other commissioners have asked the board for approval for that expenditure. But just, I don't know if you heard, but the county administrator clarified that that motion is not required, that it does fit the criteria for travel expenses. So
okay, perfect. And then my second question was, don't forget about my commission time, please.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Why don't you go ahead? I'll wrap up after you get done.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I know this is very difficult, and
no worries.
And I did want to get clarification on the honor flight thing because I really do want to do that. I think that's just.
I think it'd be great if you could go.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And first and foremost, I want to say my apologies to Commissioner Maddox. I was misunderstood the nature of the motion earlier on the President Barack Obama issue. I certainly want the board to have the full opportunity to vet out any possible solutions on that agenda item. And then secondly, I also wanted to reiterate that I agree with Commissioner Maddox that teachers should be billionaires in this world. Let me see. I've got a few things real quickly. I wanted to say thank you to our Talcott Electric line workers who deployed to help with Hurricane Elsa recovery. As always, those guys, just like our City of Tallahassee utility employees, do a really great job. And wanted to thank them. Also wanted to thank our county staff for deploying sandbag locations during Hurricane Elsa or Tropical Storm Elsa. Obviously, this is my first time with a tropical storm or a tropical event, and I certainly appreciated the county's responsiveness to the community and the county administrator's communication with us, keeping us in the loop. I thought that was really awesome, so kudos to you all. Also wanted to thank our local firefighters, our urban search and rescue team, for going down and helping with the Surfside tragedy. I can only imagine the stress and situations that they had to deal with. Also wanted to thank our Public Works department for putting the Meridian Road improvements out ASAP. They did that really quick. I think that's a great thing that they've done to deploy those resources so quickly. And then also, can y'all still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I just wanted to let everybody know, a lot of people may know this and some may not, but my family and I all have COVID. And I wanted to use that opportunity as a learning opportunity for the community. The reason that I'm not at this meeting tonight is because I have COVID. And my wife and I are both double vaccinated, and my kids have had the first dose of vaccination, and we all still got COVID. Now, our symptoms have been very mild to non-existent, and that's probably because we've been vaccinated. And with these new variants going around, I think that they can get past the vaccination guard a little bit, but I think the vaccinations certainly mitigate the impacts that you feel. I think we'll be, I mean, we're essentially up and at 'em, but we're still, in isolation for several more days. But, I just wanted to encourage everybody in the community to stay vigilant. Wear a mask if you feel like you're in an indoor urban space indoor, place where you can't get away from people. You may need to still wear a mask. And at the same time, wash your hands, stay vigilant, but please consider getting that vaccination, because I really feel like the vaccination has saved us a world of misery over here in the Welch House. And just wanted to encourage everybody to be vigilant as we move into colder weather in the fall. We really, really hate to see a huge resurgence of this thing as we go back to school. And so, anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Mr. Chair, thank you for recognizing me.
Well said, Commissioner Welch. Thank you very much. And best of luck to you and your family. Get well soon. Okay, just real quick. I wanted to clarify, I think, with the final point I was talking about regarding Project Mango. And, like Commissioner Maddox said 3 or 4 times, I'm also really excited about it. I think, with not just with the jobs, but with the technology and the sustainability practices that this company is going to be bringing in, that's going to have a ripple effect for the rest of the community in a way that we can't even imagine yet. So another thing is that we can learn from the fulfillment centers that have gone into cities like ours over the past several years. So we can learn from the challenges that they've had after the warehouse was open, and learn from those so that we can optimize the conditions that are going to be facing us. I think it's going to be a tremendous positive for us. There will be challenges, though. Fortunately, though, we've got the lessons learned by other places that we can learn from and adjust to make sure we can maximize the benefits. And then finally, just want to thank everyone for their support of the anti-human trafficking project that Robin Hassler-Thompson has worked so hard on. Congratulations to her and the members of STAC. And thanks to the business leaders that really spoke up and supported this. We had some heavy issues today. The votes we took today are going to be changing lives. I think we've acted wisely. I think the votes we've taken are going to be improving lives and making this community a better place. Every now and then you have an issue where you vote on it and you know that when this project comes to fruition, you're going to be improving people's lives and holding criminals accountable for trafficking young women and men, and holding them accountable and making these people's lives better. And that was one of these nights tonight. So I just want to thank everyone on the commission for their support of this really noble initiative. And with that, I think we are ready to adjourn. Is there a motion? And a second? All in favor say aye. All right. Thank you all very much. Have a great night.